Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. We're going to talk about the beautiful jurisdiction of Panama, a perhaps most developed country in Central America. One can, I guess, make that argument in one way or another, but certainly up there. And a place that has been quite popular, I would say, in particular over the last few years. I've mentioned in some previous videos that over the decade or so that I've done this, a lot of people have moved there, very few have stayed. I had a friend who had told me up and down, he was going to stay. He'd been there for 3 years. I told him, look, I've seen all these people go there and leave. He said, I totally understand, but I'm sticking it out. And then one day I woke up and he said, to a message from him saying, hey, I'm in Dubai. I just moved here. Are you here? So, I've certainly seen a lot of people leave. However, I've seen signs that some people are sticking around longer now, and I think that's a perfectly wonderful thing. Now, unfortunately, the Friendly Nations visa that was really easy before, you could basically just form a company and get residency, and it was very easy to maintain, etc., is no longer available. Now it's a little bit more difficult. There are other residency options for people who are interested, typically through investment, but there are various ways to do it. However, for those who are interested, Panama represents a place which is pretty easy to get residency, pretty easy to maintain residency, and has some favorable tax rules. So today I'm going to talk about the tax rules part of it, in particular the territorial tax in Mexico, and I'm going to clarify some misnomers. There has been a bunch of bad information. I'll tell a story in a bit about a friend and client who went there and kind of talked to an accountant and heard some information and then talked to me, and there was some back and forth, and anyway, I will finish telling the story in a little bit. Before we do that, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the all notification bell. If you would like to see more of these videos, please go and check out the rest of the channel. If you'd like help with relocating abroad, with paying lower tax, with setting up citizenships or residencies somewhere else, having a plan B, asset protection, investing abroad, getting foreign bank accounts, setting up your company or yourself globally, please reach out to us. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. There's a link in the description below, or send a message through offshorecitizen.net. All right, let's go. So let me tell you this story. A friend relocated to Panama. I know he relocated there, tried doing that, had some issues with the accountants in Estonia, decided, maybe he wouldn't move there. Then he ultimately decided, okay, actually he is going to shift and get set up there, and proceeded to tell me about what a great tax setup it was because of this territorial tax. I said, well, hang on a second. What are you saying here? And he'd talked to some accountant. He said, I specifically asked the accountant about this, and they said, I'm not taxable, it's international income, etc. And I said, well, hang on. What we have to define is the definition of foreign income. And this, by the way, is where most people go wrong on territorial tax systems. And they also confuse what they get away with what is actual in the law. So he ended up going and double checking it with some other tax lawyers, said, of course, you're right, fired the other accountant, and had to make some changes. So what was the flaw in this plan? And by the way, this is a flaw for many people's plan. Essentially, Panama is famous for having a territorial tax system. They don't particularly have super low taxes, but they have territorial tax, meaning that income from sources outside of Panama are not taxed, right? Great, seems perfect. So I can live in Panama and I can get my income from abroad and I can pay zero tax, right? Maybe. Depends on this issue of what is outside of Panama. And what tends to happen, what people tend to believe, is they say, my customers are outside of Panama. Okay, that does not make you not taxable in Panama. So let's just use a simple example. If you have a banana factory or a banana plantation in Panama, they go and they harvest bananas, they sell them to clients around the world. Do they pay tax in Panama? Absolutely they do. Okay, it does not matter that the clients are abroad. Not at all. This is fully Panamanian source, it's taxable there. You will have other situations where a person says, okay, I'm going to relocate here, I'm going to set up a foreign business. The foreign business is going to sell to clients abroad, and I'm not going to pay tax in Panama, right? Well, that depends. Where is the work being done? And so what often happens is that the person involved is the person doing the work, and they're sitting in Panama, and because they're sitting in Panama doing the work, that is Panamanian source income. And there's some nuances around how Panama looks at, do you need a license and this, that, and the other thing, and should you be taxable or not? And frankly, it doesn't get enforced for the most part. So I can tell you, most people get the residency, move to Panama, just don't pay tax. That tends to fly. That does not mean that is the way that the Panamanian tax system works, okay? The Panamanian tax system is set up such that generally, unless your operations are outside of Panama, you're generally going to be caught within Panamanian source income. And this is usually how it happens with territorial tax countries. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can work around that if you actually can hire your staff abroad, and most people aren't going to hire in Panama. So it could be perfectly good for you, okay? Perfectly good. And sometimes what you need to do from a structuring standpoint is you'll maybe attribute a little bit of local income, you'll pay tax on the local income, and you'll manage to keep a good portion abroad. But the bottom line is, do not be mistaken to believing that because your company is registered abroad, your banking is abroad, your clients are abroad, that necessarily means that it is not taxable locally, okay? The other thing that people fail to understand is they'll look at Panamanian companies, and Panamanian companies, again, can have territorial tax. Cool. Potentially this could be low or close to zero tax. However, there are withholding taxes in Panama. Now, if it's international income, then typically those withholding taxes are low, but you are still hit with some tax. Now, that might be perfectly fine, right? I mean, we're not saying that, that's good, bad, or indifferent, but some people are not aware of this. They kind of look at Panama as being a tax-free country. Panama is not a tax-free country. Okay, let's be very clear on this. It's not that different from Hong Kong in terms of the territoriality. True, it's harder to set up and maintain companies with bank accounts locally. It's not necessarily so friendly in that regard. It's just more complicated to run a Panamanian company, but it is an option. You have to be careful that it's not on a blacklist of some other country that's going to cause you some issues, but it can be workable. Okay, great. The thing you just want to make sure of is what you're getting what you think you're getting? Because a lot of people kind of make this misnomer. They'll say things like, oh, I'm forming a Panama IBC. Panama has no IBC, okay? There's no IBCs. An IBC is like a particular type of company. Panama does not have this. You're typically going to have a Panama SA, okay? And so that's typically the legal form that you'll get. Doesn't necessarily have to be, but typically. Now, there are also foundations in Panama, and you can typically have zero tax foundations there. And so that can be a whole other thing. Now, those foundations typically can't do business, so it's not a business entity that you're going to operate through, but it could be a useful asset protection vehicle for you. So worth thinking about in that regard. So by all means, Panama can be a very tax-friendly place if you set it up properly. You can also be in Panama, not set it up properly, and probably never have any issues with the local authorities. However, if you're, wanting to believe that it's just zero tax like Dubai or something like that, this is not accurate. So I hope that kind of clarifies things for you a little bit. By all means, there are some people who love to go to Panama. Certainly, for some people, it's a great place to go. It offers a lot that you will not find in many other places. And as I said, it's pretty easy to maintain residency there. Their rules definitely are pretty accommodating. So they've made it plenty open that you can use it as a place to base yourself or a company and optimize global tax. They have a bad reputation in terms of kind of global banking and transactions between foreign countries, et cetera, mainly due to the Panama Papers. Totally unfairly, by the way. Really, Panama had nothing to do with the Panama Papers. It just happened that the law firm that was involved in there happened to be based in Panama. It has nothing to do with Panama. But still, it affects us, so we have to plan around it accordingly. So I hope that helps. If you have questions, if you're interested in knowing, okay, what about for me, Michael? Where, I'm located here, I'm looking at going to this country. What is the structure that I should set up? Where should I incorporate? Should I get a second citizenship, residency, et cetera? Happy to help you with all those things. Please reach out to us. We can help you both figure out what the best solution is and actually implement it for you. So you can book a call or send a message to our website, offshorecitizen.net, and I will see you on the next video.